But why didn't Stockton see the warning signs that his submersible was catastrophically dangerous? This seems to be due to his hubris, delusions of grandeur with narcissism, and apparent greed to make as much money as possible, which blinded him to the possibility that something catastrophic could happen, due to his apparent confirmation bias. In psychology, confirmation bias creates a tendency that influences people to favor information or evidence that confirms their desired beliefs while disregarding or downplaying information or evidence that contradicts their desired beliefs. But here's the thing, when someone has a high level of hubris, they tend to be overly confident in their own beliefs, ideas, or capabilities. This overconfidence can lead to a heightened susceptibility of confirmation bias, as they become less open to considering alternative viewpoints, information, or evidence that contradicts their grandiose desired beliefs. Their combination of hubris and confirmation bias can create what is called a self-reinforcing cycle. For example, they may surround themselves with like-minded individuals, shut out those who disagree with them, and only engage with sources that confirm their beliefs, further reinforcing their sense of superiority and dismissing any dissenting perspectives.
He says that he was sacked for raising safety concerns. He warned that the submersible posed extreme danger to passengers. There was loss of contact with the surface on that voyage as well. There were electrical problems. A bracket that was holding on a stabilization tube was reattached with zip ties.
Stockton apparently wanted to build a big business around touring the Titanic, but the safest way to do that did not allow for it. Why do you think that's the case? Yes, the safest way to explore deep water is typically in a 1 or 2 person sized steel sphere, so your capsule is equally compressed from all sides.
P.H. Nargeolet, the veteran deep-sea explorer who also perished in the Titan.
How different is the Titan from those other subs?
Completely different. Most of them, you have a sphere.
You need the perfect shape, made of strong, heavy material. A steel sphere. A sphere is still the safest place to be at the bottom of the ocean.
However, from a business perspective, using a small steel sphere was problematic for Stockton because it would never make him very much money. He needed to create a lightweight shuttle to pack as many people in there as possible to make as much money as possible for each expensive trip down to the Titanic. He made a lot more money by getting 3 or 4 paying customers with him instead of just 1. This seems to be why he was set on creating that trash can shaped lightweight carbon fiber submersible.
Squeeze into Titan for each dive and view the wreckage on these monitors.
He was probably also very concerned with costs and wanted to pocket as much money as possible, which seems to be why he cheaped out on parts and controls, such as using a wireless knockoff PlayStation controller.
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! Stockton surely continued with his confirmation bias and self-deception for using a game controller to steer the sub, because he probably told himself he's smarter and the rest of the industry was just overly cautious. But from an outsider's perspective, the real reason seems obvious. More button switches, levers, steering apparatuses means what? Yeah, it costs more to engineer and then build that into a custom sub. And in addition to costing more, it takes up more space, causing fewer paying customers to be able to fit into his sub. Therefore, he would make way less money overall. Stockton also seemed to trick his paying customers into doing a lot of the maintenance and prep work, so he didn't have to pay staff to do that work.
OceanGate Expeditions offers you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a specially trained crew member safely diving to the Titanic wreckage site. You will be trained as a mission specialist and record valuable findings.
They are doing jobs that are essential to the scientific research, not just busy work.
This is not tourism, you're contributing.
For mission specialists not aboard the Titan sub, there's a full calendar of things to do.
Yes, he called his paying customers crew members that are helping with the scientific research to emotionally manipulate them into feeling that their work is mission critical. But in reality, it was clearly his way just to save money.
He's in it for the money, not the science.
This seemed to be a common theme for Stockton. He looked at everything as a cost-saving maneuver to spend the least amount of money building the sub and then operating it while cramming as many people into his sub as possible to make the most money as possible. But it was all at the expense of safety and his own safety. However, his self-deception with his confirmation bias and likely God complex with his apparent delusions of grandeur and narcissism caused him to shut out the critics, leading him to only believe what he wanted to believe.
Carbon fiber is a great material. It's better than titanium.
Normally, we would all just say, Darwinism. Because if a person consistently acts extremely stupid and dangerous, they will surely eventually die. However, he took 4 people with him, one of which was a 19-year-old son of one of the tourists who was originally skeptical of Stockton's sub. The really sad part of all of this is the victims. To be fair, they didn't know much about subs or the real danger of imploding, and they probably really wanted to see the Titanic, so they may have had what is called in psychology motivated reasoning.
And just keep the dream alive, because it's something that I have to do.
Because Stockton's trash can sub was probably the only realistic way for them to ever see Titanic in person. It's easy for us now, with perfect hindsight and without a burning desire to see the Titanic in person, to criticize those who went with Stockton for not seeing the many red flags. However, if it were your lifelong dream to see the Titanic in person and Stockton was telling you what you wanted to hear, that it will be fine and he does it all the time, no issues, no problems, state-of-the-art sub designed with NASA, and the only reasonable way to ever see Titanic is through him, I think in that situation it's more understandable why they at least considered it. Also, since they had $250,000 to spare.
Come join us on our next expedition. Don't miss the opportunity to be part of history. The OceanGate Titanic Experience. There's truly nothing else like it.